Damn right I was going to wear the man's jersey after that performance. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by BetUS. Today, we had a, obviously, Knick game happening at the same time as a NFL playoff Sunday. So I have a feeling maybe some people out at sports bars where they might not have had on the Knick game or perhaps just folks, tuning out because they are still disgusted from what they saw on Friday night. I'm going to use that situation to my advantage right now because it allows me to set the scene for what we witnessed today to anyone who may not have been watching the New York Knicks play a game that eventually resulted in a decimation of the Milwaukee Bucks by a final score of 140-106. But that's not really the biggest takeaway. And it shouldn't be the biggest takeaway for anybody who watched this game or who cares about this team. So Knicks come out with the level of effort and engagement that you would expect of a team that is, still fancying itself a semi-serious title contender, despite what may have been going on here over the last week, and particularly what went on here on Friday night. And they did what you think they would do. And a big part of that was Jalen Brunson, named captain of the New York Knicks towards the end of this offseason, coming out and doing the only thing that he knows how to do, which is, hey, I know when I need to distribute. I know when I need to be more of a pass-first point guard, but I also know when I need to be the captain. And I also know when I need to be one of the best scorers in the NBA. And against the Milwaukee Bucks defense, that cannot oftentimes corral a swift breeze. He came out and he absolutely dominated in the first quarter. Got 3 fouls on the Bucks, closest thing they have to a premier perimeter defender, Andre Jackson. I think within like 5 minutes, sent him to the bench for the rest of the half, and scored 23 points in the first quarter. Set the tone immediately. Knicks rest of the first half did kind of what they needed to do to increase that lead. Thought they played well without Brunson in the game. He got a pretty extended rest, actually, longer rest than I would have thought that he would have gotten. And then we got to halftime, 13-point lead at halftime. Knicks come out, and Doc Rivers is forced to call 2 timeouts within the first, felt like 3-4 minutes. As the Knicks went on a 10-0 run, they go up by 23 points. I think it was, I have it right here, actually. Taurean Prince nails a 3-pointer to cut the lead briefly to 20 points. And then as the Knicks come down the other way, Jalen Brunson goes for a runner that misses. It is blocked by Brook Lopez. Not a dirty play at all. Didn't even look like there was any contact with his right shoulder. And yet Brunson falls immediately to the ground, holding his right shoulder, gets up, takes a look at the bench, signals, I need to come out. I need to go to the locker room. Not grimacing in pain or anything, just holding his shoulder. And he immediately goes back to the locker room. And this is where I'm going to crack open my wand, please, because I thought that I was going to need couple of 4-packs of these babies tonight, because I was not prepared in the slightest to think about a world in which the Knicks were going to be without Jalen Brunson for an extended period of time this season. We as Knicks fans have waited so long, so freaking long, to have a team that we could really look at and say, this team has a shot. And I get that those sentiments and the positive vibes around this team have started to subside of late. It's a long season. They're not even halfway through it. And it is the first season that this group is together, but it is an important season. And they need to build. Even if we look back and it's only a building year where they, don't have what it takes against the very best. It's an important year. It's an important year for them to come together. And in that instant, when Jalen Brunson went back to the locker room, and again, I know he wasn't grimacing in pain like Julius Randle was grimacing in pain when he went back to the locker room on January 27th. We're about 2 weeks away from the 1-year anniversary of that sad day. But he did go back to the locker room holding his right shoulder, and I just got visions. Immediately got visions. Oh my God. Is he going to be out for the rest of the season? Is he going to be out for months? Like, what is going to happen to this thing if he has to go out for an extended period of time? I just was thinking all kinds of disruptive thoughts, and the thought entered my brain like, okay, I guess this year is pretty much done then. Because for as much as this team, has some interesting things, I you know what I started doing when I reclaimed the power of sight and functioning use of my hands. I started making notes about some of the plays that they were running with Jalen Brunson on the bench. A little bit of point heart, a lot of pick and roll action between Mikal Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns, and you sit there and you prepare, because I think as Knicks fans who've been watching this team for a while, like, I don't know about you guys, my instinct is instantly to prepare for the worst and anticipate the worst. And maybe that shouldn't be the instinct anymore, because it has been pretty good here since Jalen Brunson came aboard. And as they said, I forget if it was Clyde, I think Breen said it towards the end of the broadcast there, Jalen Brunson completely changed this entire franchise when he came. And since he's gotten here, it hasn't been the worst thing that has happened every time. And a lot of times it's been the opposite of that. Things been going pretty good. And he's out for a few minutes. Knicks kind of hold the fort, do a pretty good job of actually holding the fort. They only ended up losing 1 point off their lead while he was out. He came back, and then sure as shit, out of the locker room emerges Jalen Brunson, and it's not Jalen Brunson going back to the bench and sitting down. No. I think maybe he sat down for a half a second, but it was Jalen Brunson walking pretty much directly to the scorer's table. And I don't even think he talked to Tibbs. Walk right past the man. Yeah, Kevin's confirming. Walk straight to the table. And he's like, I'm going back in this game. And I forget what he had at the time. He had 32 or 34, whatever it was at the time that he went out, 30 something. Comes back in, and it's like he didn't skip a beat. Came back in. He had a beautiful runner with a little bit of contact, even though there was no foul called, because nobody ever calls fouls when they're committed against Jalen Brunson. That brought the lead back up to 20. Had a step back three before the end of the third quarter. That was, you want to talk about a sight for sore eyes. Jalen Brunson in this game rediscovering his 3-point shot, not only on catch and shoots, which he had a few of, but pulling up from deep. Feels like it's been weeks. That's actually true. He had to pull up against Oklahoma City, but it's like with the level of confidence and with the volume that he had today. So that was there. Had another three early in the fourth quarter to give him 40. Ends up getting 44. As I said, again, Breen told you on the broadcast, 44 points, most points ever by a Knick who played under 30 minutes in a basketball game. And look, I know there's a lot of professional athletes out there. There are some fantastic leaders in the world of sports. Again, NFL Sunday today, like Patrick Mahomes is as good a leader as you're going to find in the NFL. I'm sure baseball has those guys. I know hockey has those guys. So I'm not going to sit here and speak to whether or not Jalen Brunson is the most inspirational, or, if you have to have one guy in the foxhole with you, in all the professional sports. But in the NBA, man, I don't know. I don't know how many guys I'm taking over him. Showed his commitment to this franchise this summer with the contract that he signed. The franchise showed its commitment to him with naming him the captain of the New York Knicks. And days like today, he shows a commitment to winning and really to us, the fans. Because what do we care about? Care about winning a championship. That's what we want to see. That's what all of us want to see once in our lives. After that is gravy. Just give me one. And he cares about winning you know, I can't speak for every player that's come through the Knicks locker room over the last 20 plus years, but there's a lot of years here where guys were coming in and collecting paychecks. And we would sit there and we would watch these games unfold, like the start of the third quarter unfolded for Milwaukee. We were on the other side of that coin. Think back to obviously the famous Fizdale Clappin game. We were that team for a very long time where you're sitting there and you not only have to watch this garbage, but you had to ask yourself, it's my fault. I'm the one doing this to myself because they don't care as much as I do. Why am I doing this? And we finally got a guy who cares about this shit more than anyone. And he's willing to lay everything on the line to get where he knows his team is capable of getting. And if that doesn't inspire you, if that doesn't make you want to root for this guy and this team, I don't know what will. And with that, the Knicks got themselves a nice win. And it was an important win. And it was an important bounce back performance after. And sometimes Breen, he's the best just because of the cadence and the back and forth and his mastery of everything that he needs to be the master of, like knowledge of the sport, calling the game better than anyone. He's like a 10 out of 10 and no one else is close. For him to start off this game saying unequivocally, not might have been, not could have been, no, coming off the worst home loss of the Tom Thibodeau era, no bones about it. Like, that said all you need to know. And I think Brunson said a mouthful in the locker room after the game. Obviously Josh Hart's comments made the rounds. Everybody wondering about who he might have been referring to. Maybe that comes up today. But this was a game that required a team-wide response. And I thought, for the most part, you got it. Obviously, I already talked about what Jalen Brunson did. I think Karl-Anthony Towns, and you didn't maybe necessarily see it as much in the first quarter, but when Brunson went out of the game, his usual rest at the start of the second quarter, and the Knicks had not, by any stretch of the imagination, put this game away. The score of this game after the first quarter was 36-33. And then in the start of the second quarter, Towns, obviously, it's his turn to run the offense. And within the first minute and 15 seconds of the second quarter, makes two tough 2-point shots by exploiting mismatches. The sort of thing that I think a lot of us wanted to see more from him against Oklahoma City. Well, he went out there and he did it against the Milwaukee Bucks. Ended up just going through the second quarter box score right now, 9, 10, 11, and ended up with 11 points while Brunson was on the bench at the start of the second quarter. Ended up with 13 points in the second quarter overall. And Karl-Anthony Towns ended up for the game with a very nice effort. Like, we're getting so used to these stat lines by now, but 30 points, 18 rebounds on 16 shots. He is an absurd basketball player with his skill set that he has and he brings to the table. And I understand, the thing about that, I feel like from here on in, every compliment that I give this team and every compliment that I give any of the individual players on this team has to come with a little bit of a caveat or a little bit of an asterisk, because I know someone out there watching me right now or listening to me on the podcast tomorrow is saying, yeah, but did he do it against the best? And the Knicks are going to have to own that until they beat Boston or Cleveland. And that's probably, or they don't play Oklahoma City again unless they play them in the finals. So, you want to throw one or two other teams into that mix, you can do that. And that's fair for Towns and for the entire team. Nothing the Knicks did today can make, a Knicks fan feel any differently about their ability, I think, to win a title this year. Can make a Knicks fan feel any differently about their absolute ceiling against the best teams in the NBA, because, and I'm going to write a little something about that, this concept later this week, but the very best teams in the NBA have no weaknesses. And that's not always the case in the league. Right now, there are two teams that have no weaknesses, and neither of those two teams, the Celtics and the Thunder, are even the team with the best record. That's Cleveland, So, but Milwaukee is somewhere in that next tier, or maybe even a tier down. They're fourth in the East, or they were fourth in the East coming into tonight. So I think they're a good, solid team, and the Knicks made them look like a bunch of assholes today, which is all they could do against this opponent. Do they have very questionable perimeter defense? Is it arguably a really good matchup for these Knicks at this point with what the Bucks can offer on defense and with the answers that the Knicks have against the Bucks offense? Yeah, you could argue it's maybe a pretty good matchup, but still, you got to go out there and do it. And I think coming off that OKC game, I don't know that anyone in Knicks land had the utmost confidence they were going to be able to come out and do anything against anyone after how much the foundation, the core, was rattled by that game and the couple of games that led up to it. So really good game for Karl-Anthony Towns. And then the third guy that I'm going to mention at the top, and you want to talk about a guy who's had himself a year up and down, is Cameron Payne. And I sung Cameron Payne's praises earlier this year. Thought he gave the team exactly what he needed in a backup point guard spot, kind of that energy guy off the bench, come in, whether it's 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is. Just give it everything. Lay it all out there. And he got away from that for a while and briefly kind of lost his rotation spot. I mean, he wasn't playing in second halves, and then like Deuce came back the other day and like, oh wait, is Cam Payne just out of the rotation now? Tonight, it was him getting the first half call, not Landry Shamet after Landry played, I thought, a particularly poor game against Oklahoma City, got lost. I mean, you want to get yourself pulled from a Tom Thibodeau rotation, be a bench player who comes off the bench to play 5-6 minutes and a half and fall asleep on defense within the first couple possessions. Real easy way to get yourself pulled from a Tibbs rotation. And I know Tibbs has praised Landry Shamet up and down. But so Payne got the call tonight, got 18 points in 14 minutes, was a plus 18 in those 14 minutes. I do not think that's a misnomer. He was aggressive, he was confident, and he was a pain in the ass on defense. So those are the three guys I think really that were the standout performers. Thought Josh Hart, he was the one guy, and I my post game on Friday was all feels and vibes. Did not get into the specifics. I don't even know that I went out of my way to praise Josh Hart. I was kind of in a daze, frankly. Josh Hart's the one guy that came to play on Friday in a big time way, and he came through with a big effort tonight, as you'd expect. 11 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and just did what his team needed him to do, which is all you could ever ask. As for the other wings, Mikal Bridges, only 5 shots. Interesting. Hit that first 3. I thought we were in for a big Mikal Bridges game. I was so encouraged by that first 3-pointer, and then pretty much nothing the rest of the game, which, okay, that's a little interesting. I thought his defense on Damian Lillard was okay. A couple not great moments, but you did what you needed to do on that end, I thought. And then OG is finding himself right now. He's going through it on the offensive end. Hit the 1-3 off a nice dish from Jalen Brunson. Another great thing about Jalen Brunson. Scores all those points in the first half, comes out in the third quarter. What does he do? I'm going to make sure my teammates don't get cold. And he starts driving to dish, and they got some great open looks out of that. That was a fantastic job by him. Really just total command of the game. Could have scored 50 tonight 8 different ways, but didn't end up happening. So OG's going through it a little bit right now. I think he'll be all right. And yeah, that's really it. Look, I've said this a few times already this season. After some big wins, does it mean that all the issues that we were talking about before this game go away? No. Some of that stuff is just, it's not going to go away until they get a big win or until they, start putting together consistently high-level performers against performances against the sort of competition that is like, it when you see it. So But, and this is the last thing I'll say, and then we'll get to the super chats. I think Friday was a foundation rattling moment. And, comments like, again, I'll go back to Mike Breen, the way Mike Breen was talking about that loss and what he said at the top of this game. It tells you all you need to know. And we felt it as fans. So when you're at that point and you're with a team that has not been through this yet, because they changed out so many of the significant pieces over the summer, I think when you're at that point, like, there is no such thing as a bad win or a win that doesn't matter a lot. And I think the way they came out today shows you that whatever issues they have, and they're there, like, there is a strong foundation at the core of this team. Do they have work to do? Do they have stuff to clean up? Might it involve another adjustment or two to the roster? All of these things are true. But at their core, I'm going to come away from today believing that foundation is solid. And as will surprise nobody, the biggest reason why I could sit here and I could say that with utmost confidence is the guy whose jersey I'm wearing for this postgame. And that's Jalen Brunson. And there was only one of that guy out there, and we got him. So very fortunate for us. And on that note, before we get to the super chats, we're going to have a quick word from our friends. Actually, two quick words. One, our autograph signature moment of the game, our friends at Autograph. Come check me out on the Autograph app tomorrow. I will have a video up, my weekly Macri 3x3, coming at you fast and furious now because my last one posted on Friday, in which I'll go through some keys from the past week as well as keys from the week ahead. And if you're not on the Autograph app yet, what are you doing? Go download it. Use code KFS. Get rewarded for your fandom. They're awesome. My autograph signature moment of the game, pretty obviously, is Jalen Brunson coming back from locker room and checking himself right back into the game. So that is, if not forget autograph moment of the game. I think we have our autograph signature moment of the season so far. And boy, oh boy, was I happy to see it. So shout out to Autograph again. Go download the app. Use code KFS. Get rewarded for your fandom. And then our other friends at Rocket Money. You've heard me talk about Rocket Money over the course of the past week. And if you're not sold on what they do by now, I don't know what else I could tell you. It's extremely simple. You sign up for Rocket Money. You go there. You give them a little information, and they will do the work for you. I said already there was a whole bunch of apps and things that I had downloaded. My wife and I both had downloaded that we didn't even know each other downloaded. That's part of the problem. We had double apps that we had downloaded that we were paying for when our kids were young. All kinds of nonsense that we haven't used in years. And we Rocket Money made us aware that, like, hey, you haven't, like, are you using these things? They make it very simple for you, and they do so much more. They could make you, like, they could help build you a budget. They could do all sorts of things that really, if you're two busy people like me and my wife are, and you don't have time to sit there and it's like, okay, it's Sunday, let's have our half-hour family meeting about what we spent this week and this, like, you don't have time for that stuff. I don't have time for that stuff, which is why when I found out about Rocket Money, I was so happy. So you know what it is? One more time, personal finance app helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, plus monitoring your spending, and helps you and will help you lower your bills to grow your savings. The data total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, average is $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. And now the important part. If you want to cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money, just go to rocketmoney.com/gameon today. That's rocketmoney.com/gameon. rocketmoney.com/gameon.